Hi, I'm Edwin.
And I am Jack, and welcome back.
To the 950 Club.
Woo!
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the 950 Club. Today we will be talking about our favorite shows from fall of 2022.
Yeah, I know. It just came by just like that. Now we even forget what year it is.
I know, it's like... Well, it's been a while since we recorded, Jack, so we're a little bit off of our games, I think. But, yeah, a lot has happened since then. I mean, we're in a new year, 2023. There was a lot of great anime last year.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of great anime next year. So there's a lot to talk about and a lot to look forward to.
Literally in the first week of 2023. We're recording on the day of Trigun and Nier Automata and then Inspector coming soon.
Yeah, dude. And I've already watched some anime that I'm like, all right, I see what you're doing. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited. There's, what was I watching? There's definitely one we're going to have to talk about. Oh, Lord. You know what? Let's just go there now.
Oh.
Let's start the year off with a naughty little bang. I don't even know if I put this in my notes as a show to watch for 2023, but I did check it out. And yeah, it's actually not in my list of things to watch because when I saw the trailer / premise for this, I was like, I'm not going to watch this. And it's called Onimai. So essentially, this older sister scientist turns her older brother into a middle schooler. Yes.
Make him a younger brother.
Yeah, you make him the younger sister.
Oh.
Yeah, she transforms him into a middle schooler, a middle school girl. Yes.
The ultimate revenge.
Let the lolicons unite around
I think my sister would have done the same too.
I could see your sister doing that. I could see that knowing your sister.
Oh no.
I'm gonna leave this alone, Jack. I'm dropping this hot potato.
Hot potato.
Let the silliness continue. We're starting this off right. Yeah, I'm watching this and I'm like, what am I watching? It's another one of those shows where I'm like, I'm not exactly sure who this is for, but it looks like it's going to be pretty funny.
Okay, and you saw a couple or through the bat, or did you see the whole thing?
Well, I watched the first episode.
Yeah.
This is a 2023 show.
Okay.
I watched the first episode. It was interesting. I think it's another one of those shows where the title and premise are kind of clickbait.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, we're here to like, it's kind of a joke, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, like my step mom's daughter's my ex.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. This show is definitely not for kids.
This one, ultimate, like, nah.
No. Well, I mean, it could have been. I mean, they could have played it cute and kept it that way, but the jokes are definitely for adults.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely for a more mature audience, which always boggles my mind because some of these things where I'm like, this is really cute and endearing, but at the same time, the sex jokes kind of like push it into that area where I'm like, But you know what? I'm going to enjoy it for what it is. It's not overly insane or crude.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? This one might just end up being like one of those endearing shows that is more balanced, for adults. With the visuals, it's like, I'm not sure who you want to watch this.
It does not compute.
It does not compute. But you know what? I'm going to leave it alone, let it be its own thing, and see where it goes.
That's me with Tomo-chan, the another one that just snuck in just before release of the bigger shows.
Yeah, Tomo-chan is really. I watched the first episode. It's got some interesting vibes.
It's definitely has a turn off your brain kind of vibe.
Well, I'm thinking Toradora.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I'm thinking there's a lot of other shows that I'm thinking of. Shikimori's not just a cutie.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is definitely your slice of life. This is definitely a slice of life contender.
High school
for the
comedy.
season.
High school comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Situational in a weird way because
Oh, definitely because Tomo-chan's such a boy.
a boyish girl.
Yeah, well, she's such a tomboy. Yeah, she's such a tomboy that, and you get it. I mean, you see her home life, and you're like, I know exactly what's going on.
She kind of reminds me of Makoto from Street Fighter 3, and Street Fighter 4.
I can totally see that.
Yeah, a taller version. Like she actually trains in judo.
Yeah,
and she's built, but definitely has the feminine features. It's just a matter of like the gruff
well,
stuff.
it's just a matter of people realizing that she's a girl.
Yep, that's
because even her romantic rivals didn't realize she was a girl until much later on.
Yes,
they were like, don't kill me.
But ultimately, Tomo-chan is trying to win the affection of her childhood friend.
Yeah. Which, I mean, is a trope that we've seen so many times.
This one's unique.
Well, he's kind of, well, and he says it himself, that life wouldn't be as interesting without Tomo-chan around.
Yeah.
So he definitely feels affection for his friend. Is it the kind of affection that she wants? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But could it blossom into something like that? I definitely think so.
Yeah, for sure.
Though it's gonna be a struggle.
Especially if he survives.
Well, I feel
because she beats him up every time he thinks that she's a boy.
Yeah. Well, every time, yeah. The misunderstandings are piling up left and right.
And it's not like he's teasing her. He legit like treats her like a boy.
I feel like on this show, you and me are going to be sports commentators on this one because it's going to be like,
oh, he went with the hey buddy, how you doing kind of hug around the shoulder. Oh no.
Well, he did slap her in the ass.
He slapped her in the ass.
That was like, whoa.
And when I saw that part, I'm like, do guys normally do that nowadays?
It's a sports thing.
It's definitely a sports thing, but is it more common than per se?
I don't know. It might have been played like this for jokes, but definitely in the past that was a thing.
Yeah, 70s, 80s.
I mean, I had a job where this dude coached in his off time. His hobby, he was a football coach.
Yeah.
And he did that to me in the store.
Yeah.
He's like, "Go get him, Tiger," and I'm like, "No." No. We're selling clothes here. I am not throwing footballs, sir.
Come on, sell a couple pants. Yeah. Chop.
It's like, no, you're not smacking my ass in the locker room. This is not happening.
Whack.
Yeah, I was like, no.
Wow.
So Tomo-chan's response was definitely genuine and accurate. It's like appropriate for what he had done. Yeah.
And that's that type of show.
It's definitely going to be a play-by-play. It's like we're going to have to break these things down and examine them for you.
He did the butt pat. It's been a while. It's not the norm nowadays. I'll give that an 8 out of 10.
When he tried to grab her jacket to pull her away, and things were being revealed.
Cleavage,
yeah, she was not happy about that either. And it's like, dude, you're dealing with this is Tomo-chan. It's a woman,
and she can beat you up.
Yeah, it's like you cannot treat. So that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the voice actress for Tomo-chan, I was like, Amelia-chan.
Yeah, Jack's love of ReZero shows its face.
It's the complete opposite of Amelia, so I'm like, yeah, I like those performances.
Well, it's always good to see them and the range that they can do.
For sure.
Like Tanjiro and his,
Yeah, oh yeah. Them too.
All right, so another one, I'm going to go through one more because I think this is one that you will like, Jack. Oh, I can't find this. Oh, the Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. That was really good. So we got distracted by this year's new anime, which
it's stack pile, and there were like 5 or 6 animes that debuted before we recorded. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, guys. I mean, Buddy Daddies, check that out.
Yes.
That was really cool.
Buddy Daddies, The Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten. Grace of the Gods Season 2, Vampire Dies in No Time.
Which was one of my favorites. That show was so funny.
In Season 2, I finally caught up with that one. That one's excellent.
Yeah, that's a fun one to watch.
Farming Life in Another World.
That one I'm excited about, too.
Revenger.
I watched Technoid Overmind.
Edwin, where the hell are you bringing these up? Honestly.
That one was fun because essentially it's a mashup of kind of a boy band meets Scooby-Doo by way of what's it called when they live in a house that they don't own?
Oh, kind of like
What's that word?
townhouse.
No. Not house crashers, squatters.
Squatters. Okay.
So they're android squatters. Yes.
In a boy band.
So the premise of this show, it's kind of like Ghost in the Shell meets the Monkeys.
Oh God. I can see like Voltura be like, "Hey, we're the monkeys."
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of Vivi's Chloride song vibes
Vivi
to
as
it.
well. Wow.
But then it plays around with like they're solving mysteries. They're performing as a band.
I'm sold. I
don't know what it is. I don't even know if I like it. But like I want to keep watching it just to see where they. I mean, it's a fairly well drawn anime. The visuals are good. The music's actually not that bad.
Yeah.
There is a cheese factor to it. I kind of watch it just to see where it goes.
Okay.
Because it looks like a bit of a train wreck.
But a good train wreck.
Yeah, it could be fun.
No casualties. The train's just toppled.
No, the casualties will be us. When we're like, what are we watching?
Fair.
So the other one I watched this week, one of the other ones I watched this week was Sugar Apple Fairy Tale.
Okay, I glanced at that.
Oh my God, talk about like, I have never seen a fairy wing drawn the way, I mean, the show's beautiful.
No wonder.
It reminds me of Spice and Wolf.
Ooh.
There's definitely a Spice and Wolf vibe to this show.
Ringing Jack's bells here.
Yeah. I mean it's beautiful. It definitely has that fairy tale vibe to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely something worth checking out for that one. I was like, this one's cute. It's got enough romance and like action to be something like, okay, this is worth watching.
Dang.
It's not just like pretty pictures. But honestly, man, like the way dude, I was like, some of the animation is absolutely gorgeous.
Because the last for fall season, I basically had one half of like action adventure, like Spy Family, My Hero, I watched that in one day, like those type of shows. And then for Sundays, the chill stuff. Reincarnated Sword definitely was more chill for me, at least. And then To Your Eternity. So this one's definitely more of a chill factor.
There's definitely a chill factor, but for some odd reason, I get 86 vibes.
Ew, so it's it has an eeriness towards it.
Yeah, there's definitely an eeriness, and there's definitely
even Spice and Wolf had times had an eeriness.
There's an eeriness and there's a darkness where I'm like, where is this gonna go?
Okay.
Like violence threatens. It doesn't show its face yet,
but it lingers. Yeah.
Yeah, and then and toward the end, there's some sword fighting that I thought was really cool. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, I'll watch this one.
Because Reincarnated as the Sword is done, and To Your Eternity is still continuing, I'll watch this with that. Okay, Edwin.
This is definitely a show that I think you'll like.
Okay.
But one that I was like, all right, I can watch this.
Man.
Yeah. It's another stack season,
and
guys.
That's our winter preview explosion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got excited. You know.
No, I can't. I was the same boat. I was like, okay, we have to bring up the speed.
There's another one, guys, and I can't for the life of me find the title to it.
Hello, this is Jack with a post-production add-on. The title that Edwin is looking for the anime he is describing, The Magical Revolution of the Reincarnated Princess and the Genius Young Lady. Yep, a tongue twister. And I don't blame Edwin for forgetting the title. Now let's tune back to Edwin's description of the show.
I watched it a few days ago. So essentially, it's about a princess. She's reincarnated, but they don't specifically say she's reincarnated.
So it's an isekai.
Yeah, it's an isekai because she has memories of planes and buildings. So she essentially is like this crazy crackpot who's making all kinds of experiments with magic brooms and magic weapons. So the first half is her going crazy. Essentially the setup where she's renounced her claims on the throne. Her brother will be king, and she's spending all of her time with these magical experiments so that she can fly. The second half is about her brother rejecting his fiancée so that he can marry a common her, right? So then, the way the episode ends is that the sister kidnaps the fiancé. It says, "We're going to see my dad and your dad. I'm going to see if you can be mine."
And I'm going to make you my younger sister.
I don't know, but I was like, the artwork's really nice. The artwork's really beautiful, and I gotta get the title for you guys, and I gotta get the studio. But I'm like, I want to see where this goes.
Dang. Because I'm looking at my anime list and nothing popping up at the moment.
Because I'm having some Licorice Recoil vibes from this one. There's definitely
buddy.
Well, the princess is very Chisato, but she has a Takina friend who's not the fiance.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, I see you. I don't know where you're going with this, but I'm excited. Yep. All right, and now let's go back in time to fall of 2022. And usually I do my Isekai roundup, but last season, well, there were shows that decided that they weren't going to be Isekai. They were fantasy, like Beast Tamer.
Yeah.
That I enjoyed. That one was fun. It wasn't. I liked the premise. How he was kicked out of the heroes team, the heroes party. They essentially just like, all right, dude. Well, they were. It was not a nice heroes party. They were a bunch of egotistical jerks who didn't see the value, didn't see his value, and they kicked him out. And so he's here on his own, and he meets these different beast girls, and makes contracts with them. He's obviously exceptional as a beast tamer, and I think that that's why his village of beast tamers was wiped out, because this dude is on par with the hero. And I thought those were interesting qualities to it. But I don't think that it wasn't an isekai, so it can't fit in my isekai roundup. But I think Beast Tamer is definitely, it's worth watching. I wouldn't say that it was like groundbreaking in any way. I did like the differences and I like the development. I think they spend way too much time on the girls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it like harem girls or just like girls?
It's borderline harem, because it's like he just has a bunch of friends that want head pats.
Oh.
And it's just like that are fighting over head pats from him. And it's like,
not headlamps, head pats.
Yeah, just head pats. So it gets kind of like into that territory where I'm like, why? Like, it's like you got, it had a solid premise, but it's like it kind of squandered it by living by keeping those tropes where it's like, all right, you're building a harem of girls, they're giving you different kinds of magic and making you more OP. Cool, but you could have spent your time developing this other stuff a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would have been like, like a better show.
I can see that,
Yeah. And then one of the ones that I was kind of disappointed by was I'm Taming the Final Villain. That one was another fantasy one, and I dropped it after 5 episodes. It started out okay. I'm like, all right, cool. But they didn't develop. Instead of developing what they were, they tried to become something else, because by the 4th episode, the story's done. And they don't really, it's like the plot plays out. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, where is this going? So they decide in the 5th episode that she should pose as a boy at a school for magic while the demon lord is the principal.
Okay, so many variables then.
Well, I think that they ran out of story.
Yeah.
Because they didn't I thought this was going to be
That's what happens when you lose a story. You try to do something else and try to do something else and you try to do something else. It doesn't work.
And so, because they didn't spend a lot of time developing, they pretty much just played out a generic plot.
Yeah.
Where her fiance dumps her and for somebody else, and then she falls in love with his brother who's the demon lord, and she stops him. Yeah, she stops him from becoming the demon lord. No, she stops him from becoming the dragon that will destroy the world.
Okay.
And so that's the first time she stops him from becoming the Dragon Lord, or from destroying the world. But apparently throughout the series, she will continue to stop him from destroying the world by solving whatever it is, whatever situation. But they didn't develop really any of the side characters, and they keep introducing new characters that are pretty generic. And I'm like, okay. So that one really wasn't. I'm like, I mean, if you guys want, you can check it out. I think Beast Tamer was actually better.
Okay.
But
those are the ones you just wanted to like. There you go.
yeah. Well, they were fantasy based, and I watched them, and I was like, all right, can I recommend? Beast Tamer was harmless. I thought, like I said, it had an interesting premise and setup. I'm Taming the final villain just fell flat. That one I would skip if I were you guys. The next one on my list is Eminence in Shadow.
Okay, and
this
I've
show,
been meaning to be like, what's the deal with this show?
This show is insane.
Okay,
it's insane. I mean, it's insane, but in the best way. It's fun. I'm like, I caught myself like, all right. I'm like, I saw the trailer for this. I'm like, it looks crazy. I thought, like, assassin in another world, assassin becomes aristocrat in another world. I thought it gave me those vibes. So I'm like, all right, I want to check this out. It looks cool. This dude is insane.
Okay.
This dude is like, so imagine Dick Grayson training to be Batman, right? Just so that he won't die. The first episode starts with him saving a girl from like these kidnappers.
Yeah.
And he literally beats the crap out. He essentially kills them with crowbars.
Okay.
He's a vigilante.
Yeah.
With crowbars. And so it's told from the viewpoint of the girl that he saves.
Oh.
And this happens in our world. It doesn't happen in the world that he travels to. It happens in our world.
Yeah.
And so you're like, what? What?
Yeah, so it's a little bit jumping around.
Well, it shows you that he's training to be
Batman.
So yeah, he's essentially training to be Batman. But then he doesn't want to be Bruce Wayne.
He wants to be Nightwing.
No, he just wants to be like this ordinary character that nobody pays attention to.
Okay. So more like okay, I got you.
And so when he's actually trying to learn magic in our world when he gets killed by Truck-kun.
Oh, after all that.
And then he gets magic. He's reincarnated into another world, and he pretends not to be the OP character that he is. He leaves that to his sister, who's born in this world. And the show just gets crazier from there. He's OP, goes to school, he dates people. Dude, this show... I don't even know.
Like, I'm going to do the Black Clover route. It's just
Black Clover has more logic than this show.
Surprisingly,
he starts a secret society of female assassins.
Where is this going?
On a make-believe story. So
that he created.
That he creates in his mind.
Yes.
So he believes that this is all in his mind, and he's created this fake group. So he says fake, this fake group of female assassins to save the world from a secret society that he made up.
Yeah.
That just happens to be real. Just so he can make cool introductions.
Oh, okay. So for that,
he literally has spent like a fortune buying fancy furniture so that when these people show up, he can seem like he's like
the video game aspect, but similar to Skyrim.
Essentially, that's where his mind is at.
Okay.
His mind is. He's essentially like a 12-year-old.
But he wants to be Batman.
Who wants to be Batman in a fantasy world.
But low key.
Well, no. He's getting his wish.
Yeah.
The dude is so OP that he can essentially... He's made it so that nothing can kill him.
Okay.
The way he defeats one of his opponents is by turning into a nuclear bomb.
Dear God.
Yeah. He's like, atomic. And he literally explodes.
Was it like a big build up? Like the villain looked like he finally had advantage. Then he did a One Punch Man where he's like, wild card.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's insane. This show is insane. This show is insane.
I'll give it a try.
Look, man. I don't. It's just really fun to watch.
Okay.
You just like. It strikes this balance between being absolutely ridiculous and watchable. There's always women. There are women who fall in love with him.
Yeah.
He's so committed to his role. He's so committed to being just like this in his normal life, in his normal everyday life. His commitment to being just like this side character is amazing. Like it's amazing. Like he will grovel and he will like be humiliated. He does not care as long as he gets to be like a nobody.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's dreaming about being this super Batman ninja OP like guy. And so he will, to everybody around him, he will pretend to be the most normal, like dumb side character you ever saw in your life.
Party.
Even though everybody keeps trying to lift him up into like something higher, there's a fight tournament. And he spends, so there's the best swordsman in school. He spends the entire tournament finding ways to die.
Because he's that.
Because
OP.
they're cool.
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
He's like, he thinks that if his character went up against the most powerful swordsman in the school, he would die.
Yeah.
So, or he would get injured. So he's like, all right, I'm going to get injured. This time I'm going to get injured like this. And so he does, he gets hit and he does that move.
Yeah.
And then he does that move. And so the girl thinks that, oh, he keeps doing this. He won't give up. Oh my God, look at how awesome it is. And in his mind, he's like, oh, that was a cool death scene. So he's just,
badass.
He's like, oh, that was cool too.
It's like watching your instant replays.
Yeah.
Oh,
and so he's playing through his list of like, like positions that he would like, oh, this was.
Yeah. Even speaking of Skyrim has those moments where you die, but it's not from first person perspective, but third person. So you see the body flying, frailing in the air.
Essentially.
Especially when you get killed by a dragon or something. Oh, yeah.
So he's going through his list of things that are either humiliating or that should happen to him as a side character, and people are totally misreading it. And it's just, that's fun to watch.
Okay.
And then at the same time, you have this other story where he's like this badass Batman OP, like leader of this secret cult or this secret group, and he's like all badass and awesome. And then he just, when it's all over, he's like, yeah, that was cool. You're just like, and he just doesn't get that, yeah, this shit is real.
Yeah, for sure.
The commentary, the things that he thinks or says, you're just like, oh my God, he's an idiot. But at the same time, he is OP.
OP
like,
as fuck.
Yeah, like he will take these people down. And you're just like, I don't know what I'm watching, but it's fun. And there's like 20 episodes. There's like a 24 episode season for this thing. And I'm like, why? Why is this why are they doing like, like half seasons of Spy Family and this show is getting 24 episodes? But you know what? I watched 20 episodes of this thing without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I would just burn through it. Like I kept going back. I'm like, because it has a good sense of humor about itself. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's fun for what it is. So if you want one of those shows that you're just like, WTF, what is this? But that's fun to watch, and that doesn't, like, it will play with the tropes, but it doesn't take them seriously.
Compared to like Konosuba or How I Summoned the Demon Lord.
Well, those shows are funny.
Yeah,
period.
Straight up.
Yeah, straight up, that's humor.
Yeah.
They're playing with their tropes, and they're making fun of those tropes. This show's making fun of the tropes but at the same time, the character's taking them seriously.
Okay.
So
more like only the OPs treating this as a game. Yeah.
yeah, he's the only one who doesn't realize what's actually going on,
Ah,
and so because he thinks like,
over his head kind of at times. Okay.
well, yeah, because he doesn't actually think that there's an overarching conspiracy to try to take over the world.
Similar
He
skeleton.
just made that up.
Okay.
He made that up so that he could have fun pretending to be this hero, this OP hero. And so if someone shows up ready to fight him, he's going to fight them. He's living out his Batman fantasy in another world without realizing that, yeah, there is a Ra's al Ghul, there is a Demon Lord, there is this whole thing, there's this whole conspiracy, this whole thing going on, and that people are trying to kill him, and that they're trying to take over the world. And so he might accidentally stop that, but he's not actually going to know. Yeah, so Eminence of Shadow, it's fun. I mean, if you guys are looking for an isekai that's fun to watch and is batshit crazy, go ahead. That's the one.
Bam.
Yep. And then, of course, then that brings us to
The isekai.
the isekai. What I'm going to say is, I mean, how can you not
I know exactly where he's going with this.
call this one of the best shows of the year? I mean,
Maybe up to the decade.
it snuck in there and like fucking like stole, I think
a genuine surprise.
it really was, because I wasn't expecting this at all, and it kind of like stole my heart, and I think it stole Jack's heart. And I don't know if it was the show so much as the main character, one of the main characters. She kind of just stole our heart, and we're talking about Fran. And it was like, and you guys will be like, you guys will look at the trailer, you'll look at the artwork, and you'll be like, come on, guys. She's just another cute cat girl. And no.
Way beyond
that. Way beyond, like, she's the hero of this show.
She's adaptable. That's a key term. Now, a show I like to compare this to, and Edwin's not going to like me for saying it,
Let's
but
smack you, Jack.
it reminds me a smidge of My Hero Academia.
No.
In terms of adaptability.
You're wrong, Jack.
No. Well, Fran, like, she has something special with her. That's what I'm trying to get. And Deku, too. Deku has something really special, but the problem with Deku is that he's really trying to dig through his heart, whereas Fran is learning along the way, actually freaking learning.
All right.
You see my point?
I don't have... My problems with My Hero Academia are my personal problems with Deku.
Yes.
Not with the show itself.
That's why I was like...
But with Deku.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to have that conversation
fair,
right now.
But I meant more of the sense of like knowing your own power.
Well, Fran is she's a cat.
Cat girl.
Yeah, she's a cat girl. I mean, you could call her a shonen hero.
Yeah.
Because she has, she's struggling. She starts out as a slave who has no hope, essentially, of evolving, which is what they do in this world.
Yeah, at least for the black cat race, yes.
Yeah, and so it pretty much said that they don't evolve, and so she's pretty much a beast person who has no future, none. And to see her transformation is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and it's satisfying.
Well, it's very sad. It's one of the highlights of that show, and we're talking about Reincarnated as a sword.
Yeah, we didn't even mention this. Like, no, let's talk about Fran.
And well, because like I said, she stole our hearts this season.
Because the title itself, Reincarnated Sword, you wouldn't think there's a cat girl in there.
Well, you'd be like, what? You'd be like, okay, as a sword? I mean, people have been reincarnated as a lot of stuff.
A lot of worse stuff, too.
A lot of worse stuff, too. But now as a sword, too? I remember seeing the manga. When I was looking for manga to buy, I remember seeing the cover to this. And I'm like, I'm not.
The art is kind of interesting, at least for the manga. Like, it's not, like, alluring, but something about it just pops.
I don't have a problem. I didn't have a problem with the artwork per se.
Yeah.
Just that I'm like, all right, this is a cat girl holding a sword. I'm like, and the guy gets reincarnated as a sword. This sounds insane. So I didn't pick it up. And I'm sorry I didn't pick it up because the story and the character development is awesome.
Yeah.
Chisu, who is the sword, dies.
You don't know how he dies. He reincarnates into an actual sword similar to King Arthur on this podium. And it's a challenge. Like, who can yield me? And
well, he starts to fight his way
Yeah. He gets
through
bored.
things.
He gets
Yeah.
bored. Nobody can like pull him out. So he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna do this on my own. I can fly. Look at that.
Well, he develops like powers little by little.
Yes.
And then he destroys the fantasy monsters.
All of
the
them.
monsters.
All of them.
He does.
Like the top of the top of the top.
Well, he wipes out all the monsters in a certain area.
And mind you, he's not even world building. He's just zeroing in on all these creatures.
Yeah, and then realizing that by destroying the crystals within them, he's getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
Until he leaves the area and he can no longer fly.
Yeah.
He can no longer like lift himself or be wielded. And then along comes Fran. And
Yes.
Fran is going through 3 kinds of hell.
Yeah.
Because she's not only a slave who's being abused by her owner or her the slavers.
Yeah.
Now she's going to be killed by a gigantic 2-headed bear.
Yeah, and along with her last of her species kind of population with her too.
Yeah, her
It's
parents
remarkable.
Well, her parents have been killed. She's a slave now who's being controlled, and it's pretty bad.
Yeah, but how the sword gets there? Chizu. He is stuck on this weird plateau, and he can't get out, and it yields his powers, all of his powers, similar to him being back on that podium. So this attack happens on Fran and her people, and the slave owners too. Everyone's just getting wiped by this monster. Fran comes in to save the day for the sword.
Yeah. Well, Fran picks up Chizu, and he says, pick me up.
And if you do, I'll give you, I don't even care who it is. I'll give you all this power.
It's just like, pick me up. I can help you.
Yeah.
And so she picks him up, and she's able to defeat the monster.
Yes. Very convincingly right off the bat.
Yeah. And so it's the beginning. I would say this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then essentially, so all this time, he's just been making himself more and more powerful.
Yeah.
And so now his friendship with Fran begins, and it's her attitude, I think, more than anything else that makes Fran like one of the most lovable characters of the year.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's so pure, but at the same time so devastatingly sarcastic.
Yeah.
That you're just like, oh my God.
She comes in with the burn sometimes.
Absolutely. Well, because it's like this pure eagerness to try to get better.
Yeah.
Like she wants to be stronger. And you know why? Because her parents were killed. There she was as a slave. It's not just like, hey, I want to be the best of the best, or I want to make people smile. It's like she wants to be stronger, and there's reasons.
Yeah.
Here she and you're like, yeah, who wouldn't be? If you're a small little cat girl whose parents were killed and you don't want to be a slave again, yeah, you'd want to be stronger. Yeah, you want to evolve. Yeah, you want to be, you want so that doesn't happen again. And it's not like with other shonen where, like they jump in and like, oh, I want to be the world's best, or I want to help people. No, Fran has reasons.
Yeah.
Fran has reasons to want to be stronger. So it's like right then and there off the bat, you're like, yeah, I want you to be stronger too, Fran.
Yeah. And it's weird how finally, I would say in the final 2 episodes of the first season here, basically, like, you finally settle in with the world. Like, okay, you're 110% with Fran throughout every episode up till maybe the final quarter. Holy cow. That's how much of a build she has and how much of a pull she has.
Well, what do you mean?
No, like, okay.
Like you're siding with her?
Yeah.
Well, you side with Fran throughout the entire show.
No, that's what I mean. Like, because there's side characters, there's a little bit of, you could see a little bit of the world and stuff, but more and more, it's just along the journey with Fran. So,
well, to me, that's what the show is going to be about.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, there was never like adventurers and the guildmaster, and they all came into the picture.
Yeah.
But they kind of needed to, or you wouldn't have a story.
Yeah. And that's why I'm trying to build up, because the rest of the world is awesome.
Yeah.
And the rules too.
Well, I mean, even just, I mean, I would have watched with just a show with Fran and Shishu.
Yeah.
Traveling the world, and I think that's what, if they do another season, I think that's what we're going to get.
Oh, especially with the cliffhanger. Yeah, for sure.
They're going to be traveling from place to place, kicking ass.
Yep.
But yeah, you get some interesting character. The Guildmaster was interesting.
The orphan master,
Yeah,
her.
she was interesting too. I mean, she was crazy.
I even like the swordsmith, the blacksmith. He was cool. The dwarf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they have like you have your basic trope characters.
Yeah.
But they all have kind of like sad backstories too that are really interesting.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, I like that the Guildmaster used the entirety of that last quest as a test for Fran.
Yeah.
To see, it's like, all right,
And that's
what
why
is
that's how I was
she-
trying to get, because there's actually a tier level, because Fran's as powerful as she is and already is, she still needs to get to that A class.
Yeah.
And the orphan, I keep on forgetting her name, but the orphan,
The adventurer, the A rank adventurer.
the A rank adventurer,
Yeah.
who's desperate to call Fran her mommy.
Well, she wanted Fran to call her mommy,
Yeah.
and she calls her mommy at the end.
No.
And I thought that was really cute.
That was the best.
But those
best.
were some of the best burns. You're like, you're not my mom. I have a mom. I was like, go,
And
Fran.
Fran's eyes reactions are glorious.
Oh, yeah. Well, Fran's like, no.
Yeah.
My favorite reaction was when that guy from the Knights Guild
Oh yeah.
came and showed up, and she was like, ooh. She was like, no. He's gross.
But also, shit gets real too, because there's a part in the midway point where she meets a blue cat,
Yeah.
and the blue cat's a motherfucker. That was like no, we're not playing games. Moment. I'm like, yeah.
Well, I was kind of afraid for Fran,
yeah, me too.
but the way the show played it was like jaw dropping. I'm like, she just dismembered this guy without like batting an eyelash.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even the sword was kind of surprised by her level of like skill and like just like no fucks were given, man.
Yeah.
Like I was like,
Yeah, basically, the blue cats are like the rivals of the black cats. And,
well, no, they're essentially they essentially kill the black cats and enslave them.
yeah, that too. That's
So
what I mean.
this is the kind of guy who would have like enslaved her parents or enslaved her, and like they're essentially human slave traders. And so she sees this dude, and this is the embodiment of like
everything wrong with them.
everything wrong that has gone wrong in her life.
That too.
Yeah, and everything that will go wrong. And you can see the fear and the terror, and you understand it because the show's sophisticated enough to have set that up already.
She doesn't falter. She does
not falter. And then it's part of the character's conviction.
Yeah.
And you're just like blown away by it, because at first I'm like, all right, how is this going to play out? I'm afraid for Fran. And then the cool thing is that that's the way they work it.
Yeah.
That's the way the show works it. Chizu is afraid for her too. Like he doesn't know what's going to happen. And she just tears this dude apart without I'm like, I was not expecting that. And neither was the sword. Like she guts dude bad.
Yep.
And it was one of those moments in the show where you're just like, who is this girl? Like, you do not, yeah, she looks cute and everything, but you do not want to mess with Fran. It's like, okay, all right. I don't know how to explain it, man.
And that's the weird part, Edwin. We got more to explain about it. It's that type of show.
Well, because she's so cute. And for the most part, she just kind of wants to be left alone.
Yeah.
To do her own thing and eat curry.
Well, which the sword, he learns cooking, and he's really good at it.
Yeah.
And he makes curry, and she's like, "What's this?" And then she's addicted. It's like crack.
Oh yeah. Well, she makes three different. They make barrels. They make 3 barrels of 3 different kinds of curry.
Yeah. And how he stores his stuff, he has an invisible portal through his sword. Mind you, we're talking about a floating sword that can talk.
Yeah.
So,
they call them intelligent weapons in that world.
Yes.
And so that's pretty cool.
He's the rarest, one of the rarest of them.
One of the rarest, yeah, because there's not too many.
Yeah.
And he has his own thing going on.
Very.
Which, his dreams of being his dreams of those 3 goddesses.
Yes.
Was very interesting.
Similar
and it was
Zelda.
weird that was the only shout out to that, where it's you feel that something might separate him and Fran at some point.
Ah, good call. I didn't register that. I thought it was
Yeah.
more like similar, like the video game aspect of it, similar to Zelda.
Well, there's definitely because of the way he was so distracted by it. It's like, all right, how is this going to play out later on?
Okay.
Because there's definitely like this. So there's like little things that don't really play out throughout the first season, and I mean, which makes sense because this is a
What I was trying to
manga.
explain, because
Yeah,
literally a whole encompassing over Fran. So
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, because they keep Fran and Shizu are interesting enough to keep your attention on them,
Yeah.
but there are definitely things happening in the background where you're like, oh, this could present problems later on down the
Yes.
road.
Yes. Yes.
And that's cool because a lot of anime series kind of don't do that. They end at the end, and this one does end at the end. That arc finishes, but there's definitely set up for like future stuff to see what happens, and I hope that I've conveyed why you should not only why you should watch this, but B, why Fran is such an interesting character,
Yeah.
because it's hard to like say, hey, look at this, and you see it and you're like, okay, that's just a cat girl.
Yeah.
But I hope that we've done enough to tell you that it's far more interesting than her just being like this cute cat girl.
Yeah, and they're play devil's advocate. If you're not really into isekai, there you go. That's a great way to start this, because isekai definitely is still.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna say that what I'll say is that, and I've been thinking about this argument in my head for a while, is
Yeah.
that isekai is just kind of like an overarching name for a category of shows that are essentially just fantasy.
Yeah, but also there's
Because
subdivisions and
they're yeah, like with
roles.
everything, like with shonen, you have your different kinds, and like with romantic comedies, you're gonna have your different
Yeah.
kinds. There's always gonna be different kinds. This show doesn't play around with a lot of the tropes that a lot of isekai shows
Yeah.
do.
Even like a show like Rising of Shield Hero has more tropes. I'd
Yes,
argue. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean even like one of our favorites, Mushoku Tensei,
Yeah, that
Jobless
one. That was
Reincarnation.
like a deconstruction, I would argue.
Yeah, well, I think that's the granddaddy of them
Yeah,
all because
yes.
it's so the light novels for that.
It's a premier, yeah.
Well, yeah, the light novels for that are so much older, and I think that one really was him trying to tell the story of a great mage.
Yeah.
This is how a great mage is born, kind of like Gandalf.
Yes, yes.
Where this show less about the isekai tropes.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at ultimately, because this is like a good starting point. Like if you're still unsure about isekai, this one, because this is straight and narrow. This is the story of a hero, a heroine, technically.
Yeah.
So it's easy to follow along compared to like even Reincarnated as Slime, because that one's technically more world building, things like that.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely. Well, yeah, that's empire building. Yeah, that's definitely like
most correct. Yes.
Yeah, that's him building an empire, and a lot of shows play out like, well, you have your different. They're all going to do something different, but I think Reincarnated as a Sword plays close, very almost like Eminence in Shadow, where the focus is more on the character
Yeah.
than it is on like the tropes,
Mm-hmm.
and I found that refreshing. And her being, like a cute cat girl is kind of a trope in and of itself, but I think they do enough to make her a character all on her own.
Yeah.
And that struggle of her, because in any other isekai, she would be a side character. Yeah, she might be a slave, but I think that she has the hero story.
Yeah.
She is an orphan. It turns out that her parents trained with the A rank adventurer, and so she's kind of given, like, I don't want to say the Luke Skywalker, but
No, this is far removed from Star
well, I
Wars,
mean,
yeah.
not in that sense, but like she is the one.
Yeah.
She's the hero of this story.
Yes, yes.
And this is about her overcoming her past and struggling to reach, new heights as a, essentially what works out kind of like a shonen.
Yeah, correct.
Where she will fight like different battles that, that come at her as she grows to become stronger. But at the same time, she's so fucking adorably cute that you can barely stand it.
I
And
know.
it's like, nope, It's like, yeah, I'll fight for Fran. It's like, no, get out of the way. We must protect.
Almost like Nafumi from Resident Shield here. You get to that point where you're on his side, 100%.
Yeah, you're like must protect.
Must protect,
Must
like the
protect.
Shield hero.
It's like don't mess with Fran because not only will you get your ass kicked by her, you will have to deal with her legion after, her legion of fans
And her
afterwards.
teacher, the sword.
No, well that's he's just OP. But I do see at some point I see them I can see them being like they're separated for a moment to show that Fran is determined to survive even without him
Yeah.
and to make it well, she says to make him proud. And that's her moment like as a in her character arc where she's like I can't let my teacher down. I have to make him proud. I have to survive. And she does. And she throws herself at the problem again and again and again because she's like, I'm going to make it. I'm going to survive. And she does. She survives until they get there. And then it's like ass kicking time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like that I thought was definitely a. If you want to compare it to Deku, I think that that's your moment where like she's literally throwing her body at this monster at this point just to to defend the two people that are stuck there with her to try to keep them alive. She's sacrificing herself to try to keep them alive, but at the same time she's fighting to prove herself, to make her master proud, to prove that she can do it without his help. And I thought that it's an isekai moment, but it's also an anime shonen moment.
Yeah.
Where it's like she's the hero of this thing. Fran is not going to back down. It's like it does not matter how low this shit gets or how hard it gets. Fran is not backing down.
Oh, no.
And that's one of the things that I think moves her from this category of just like being a cute character to like actually a legitimate like, hey, you might want to protect, she might not need it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like she can kick ass.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that was my Isekai roundup
For
for
fall.
fall of 2022.
Ancient times at this point. Man.
It does feel like a long time ago
It
now.
resonates, though.
Yeah.
But
Especially with the great shows.
I know. And that's what I mean. And lean towards that because with Edwin's Isekai Roundup, I got Jack's Slice of Life Vending Machine Corner for fall 2022.
Now, Jack, you had some shows that you had some good stuff this season, man.
I did, but
there was some good stuff out there.
I kind of want to do for this special to at least like highlight a couple.
Okay.
Because these are ones you've checked out, and I'm thinking of more of your input than anything.
Well, we can go back and forth on them because you told me about these.
There are some personal ones that I don't think you've caught up with, like Bibliophile Princess. No. Yeah, that one I'm saving for another thing, along with Raven Consort.
That was one of the best. That was one of the best shows of last season.
Okay, well, what do you like about that one?
Oh, dude, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was like
because I'm halfway through, to be honest.
Wasn't it? That wouldn't be. I wouldn't consider that slice of life. I mean, it could be.
I'm putting it there mainly because it's different from the rest. Way different.
Well, it's definitely a historical drama.
Even more so than drama.
Yeah. It's a historical drama that includes magic. It really reminds me of Spirited Away a lot because they're dealing with so many like spirits and like just like gods from like like these creation stories.
Yeah.
And that grant these people gifts, and there's this beautiful story about how this came to be, and how these two are just yin and yang forces that are creation and destruction, and how all this resides in the body of the Raven Consort. It's amazing.
One I couldn't help it reminds me of because it's if I'm not mistaken, it's set in China, like ancient China.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of this one story called Raise the Red Lantern, where it's a court drama with concubines and stuff. And this show deals with that too, but it's more of a sense of like all this weird shit's happening in this palace.
Well, because you have like it's kind of like your Hike story.
Yes, that as well. Yes.
Where the court, all these people, you have these courts, you have these people who are essentially fighting for power. But as they fight for power, they kill the previous. You have all this court intrigue, and it's really at the emperor's whim whether you
Yeah.
live or you die. And if the emperor dies, then you're probably on the chopping block too.
Yeah.
And so you have all these cases of people who have loved and lost, and like the pain that they're going through and the things that they've done and the regrets that they've had. And that's the bread and butter. That's the currency of this show
Yeah.
is like that emotional, that human emotional connection where like, yeah, you've lost your loved one. Now your loved one is haunting you,
Yeah.
and it's up to the Raven Consort.
It has a weird inspector element too.
It does.
I
Oh,
felt.
absolutely. You're definitely dealing with the afterlife.
Yeah.
Cross the ocean. She helps them cross the ocean to get to the afterlife. I got Crouching Tiger, Hidden,
Yeah.
Dragon
Yes.
vibes.
Yes.
This plays around with a lot of those, I don't want to say tropes, but a lot of those elements from other Chinese and Japanese fantasy
Yeah.
stories and creation myths, and like there's a lot going on in this show, and I think it's one of the better shows of the year because it handles it so it's a beautiful story that it tells, and the between the emperor and his consort, and how she's more of she's an equal when you find out what's really going on between the two of them and who she really is,
Yeah.
and what role she's playing. And it's good. It's interesting to see her grow, and she has a backstory and a history. And as you discover those, you become more attached to her, and you're like, oh, there's a lot. It's a complex. There's a lot of things going on,
And that's why I've really taken my time with the show.
and it's a show that you
Yeah.
probably should. I mean, it's a show that you could watch, like in one go. But it's probably a show that you should sit there and kind of let marinate for a while
That's
in your
what I mean.
head.
And
It's like sit there and think up on it.
Yeah.
Because there's enough there where you can. There's morals and lessons. Like maybe.
But it's not like the morals and lessons are very. They're
what
dug,
does it
they're
doesn't-
like buried on the surface. It's
What
weird.
doesn't beat you over the head with them?
Yeah, even more so than most typical shows that do that.
Yeah, but there's a lot of intrigue. I mean, I think this is a show that anybody could watch.
Yeah.
Because I think it gives you enough action and intrigue where it's compelling. This was one of those shows where it's like, all right, I have to watch it.
Yeah.
It's like at first I was like, I don't know. Once I got into it, I was hooked. It's a very sophisticated show. And like I said, it reminds me of a lot of different things, and it does these things well.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of Mulan. Reminds me of your Hickey story.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Chinese and Japanese historical dramas. So there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
But you even have like this personal story, her personal story, which is interesting in and of itself.
And that's why I kind of want to shoot it aside, because I'm curious on the novel series at least, or because it's a
Well,
trend.
I think that this is a show that we can do an entire episode about.
Yeah, and it's also one where I'm curious more of because a new trend with manga sales lately has been the light novels of these period dramas in Japan, Korea, and China.
Well, I think they're telling I think there's a hunger for it.
No, it's a curiosity for sure. Yeah.
Well, and I think too that they're especially for this one, it's so well written.
Yeah, and quote unquote, those books are kind of like linked towards romance. And this one's far from romance. It's more.
No, you have.
It's there, but
you can see a blossoming romance.
Yeah,
but it's not
because the other things are more that's why I'm thinking.
Well, because it's like Inspector. Like you made a comparison to Inspector, and it's like the madcap romance between
the mad world cap.
Yeah, it's pretty extreme. The madcap romance from Inspector, is there, but you also have, but that's not the whole point of the story.
No.
Same thing with the Raven Consort.
The Raven Consort.
The romance isn't the entire point. It's just there in the background.
Yeah.
And it's not overwhelming. And the Emperor he's not pushy.
Yeah.
But watching their friendship blossom was one of the highlights of the season for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that was really cute. Like that was very. It was like this is someone who's been alone and been traumatized, and she cloistered within that. She's been a bird in a cage for so long, and to see all of these things changing for her, it was very interesting to see. And then when you find out like why she's had to suffer, you're just like, oh man, dude, that's the ouch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're like, and, there's a lot going on there, and like I said, this is a show that not only should the audience watch, not only should our listeners watch, but I think that we could do a full-on episode of the 950 Club about.
All right, I'm sold. And yeah, that's definitely an exception. But here's another one because I want Edwin's 110% input on this one. Bocchi the Rock.
Bocchi the Rock, man. Bocchi's like Fran. This is probably one of the best shows of the year. Because it just, dude.
For me, for Jack, similar to Comey in the sense there's a lot to take in.
Well, I think it's similar because she's so awkward.
Yeah.
When it comes to socializing, she has that problem with talking to people. And the thing about Bocchi though is that I felt this one.
Yeah.
Like I could relate. Sometimes I can't relate to Comey.
Yeah.
It's like
because Comey is like almost like this perfect being that just has one little problem, but it's a big problem, and that's like a rare category of like, okay, this is fascinating.
Well, because the way Comey presents itself is I've talked about this. It's like a comic strip.
Yeah.
And so you get these situational things, but Comey is Comey.
Yeah.
And where you get a lot of the insanity is the people around her.
Yeah.
Because of the way they worship her or the misunderstanding.
The stereotypes.
So that's where a lot of the humor comes from with Comey.
Yeah.
In Bocchi, it's all Bocchi.
Yeah, well,
like this is like
this is a girl that definitely has an interior problem.
Well, she has social anxiety.
Yeah.
And like she gets into these situations where it's like, oh god, like there's an episode where they go to buy her they go to buy a guitar.
Yeah.
And like I've had, moments where I've had to go buy something and it's like, oh man, how am I going to interact with the checkout person?
Okay, so more
or how am I going to ask these
that more specific?
Like she gets like okay, now I'm at work. It's my first job. How am I going to talk to this person? How am I going to talk to the customers? It's like it's a more. This is a very personal show for me because it's like, yeah, I went through all this.
Yeah.
I was her, and I think that it speaks to people as, I don't know why social anxiety is spreading so much.
Well, I would argue a lot. Well, the main thing I think the explosion from is the internet. Like, I can't talk to people. I'm done talking to people. You get those messages, and they usually play for laughs. Like, yeah, people are jerks. People are assholes. People are idiots. That's that. But there's more of a sense of like, okay, how do I really talk to people? How do I really communicate with the rest of the world? How can I be shown that I care?
Yeah.
Things like that. Even like genuine stuff like that. No, that's still a part of anxiety. Like, you have to show yourself, talk more. You have to talk clearly. You have to know what you're saying.
I think too, I relate to her because I was also as a young, when I was young, and that's part of the reason why I'm into anime and all other kinds of things. When I was younger, I was a bit of a shut-in.
Yeah.
Not always by choice. Later on in my life, yeah, it was by choice.
For me, it was circumstances, you name it.
Yeah, social distancing since 1985,
You name it.
the insanity that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like I can relate to her quite a bit. I can relate to, like being shut up in my room, for hours on end, doing, reading or writing or drawing.
Yeah.
With her, it's the guitar.
Yeah. And that's how I relate to it. I relate to it mainly with the music aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because
well, the music is definitely there, and the music is awesome.
Music awesome, but
Yeah.
for me specifically, like I never really got into a band, and part of me always never really wanted to be in a band. But what if kind of thing? Like I never had that because that was my only like prerequisite. Like if it happens, it happens.
Well, for Bocchi, it could have literally been anything.
Yeah.
It could have been like because her father gave her that guitar, it ended up being music.
Yeah.
But like for her, it could have been like a sports
A
team,
hobby.
or because she did the guitar thing to get noticed. And I remember doing things to
Oh,
get
yeah.
noticed, like I'm gonna be cool, I'm gonna dress up this way.
Speaking of the devil, the internet. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even before the internet, because I grew up in a time that was like the internet didn't show up until really 1993,
No, yeah, but
and by
more like
that
I want to be on
point,
MTV.
well, yeah, I mean, like I'm gonna wear like a Michael Jackson glove and
Yeah.
get made fun of for it.
Mm,
But I was trying to be cool.
yeah.
Or I'm gonna buy a trench coat so I can look like somebody from a John Hughes movie
Yeah. Yeah.
and get made fun of, get made
Oh.
fun, made people would make fun of me like, oh, who are you trying to be? It's like, well, have you not seen Say
You have to
Anything?
know until you know.
Yeah, they didn't know. I
Oh.
was way more sophisticated than, well, when it came to movies.
Yes. Yes.
I had watched a lot more movies than the people around me at that point in time. They're like, yeah, that's just a movie. I'm like, how can you say that's just a movie?
It's life.
And so I feel the same way with Bocchi, where it's like, here she is, she's gone through all these things, the
Yeah.
social, she's like, you can relate to her,
Yeah.
like in a crazy way. But then that's just the beginning.
Yeah.
Then there's the music,
And the humor.
then there's the humor,
Yeah.
and the humor is fucking hilarious, man.
Yeah.
When I love the scene when they finally go to her house and then they move Bocchi's bangs
Yeah.
and she dies
Yeah.
and she
Yeah.
becomes a spore that kills everybody. It's like
it's extremes.
it's hilarious.
And almost like the panel side of Comey, like that one instance, there's the joke.
Well, the creators know their stuff. Like
Yeah.
there's so many references to so many different things, not only to movies and music, but to art styles as well.
And modernism too, I argue. Like
Yeah.
with Bocchi, like literally practicing guitar, learning from YouTube essentially how to play guitar.
And then becoming a YouTube sensation.
Yes,
yeah.
that's where I was trying to get at, because that's like it's like ultimate antithesis. Like I'm shy and awkward. I don't even show my face
Yeah.
playing guitar, and that's common or quite common. I've seen lots of musicians do that.
Yeah.
That's me with the inner musician being like, okay, if I would have grown up 10 years later or 10 years earlier, how would I react towards like making friends with music and things like that? But also in a sense of like music is that outlet. No matter what, it's gonna be that outlet. And that's why with the sense of Bocchi having tremendous social anxiety, her music speaks for herself. So it's a rare show like that. Like I'm thinking more of a sense of like you'll sort yourself out. You're young, but you do have a problem and you have to address it. So
Yeah. Well, she definitely has that problem, but she has that problem and she's addressing it little by little.
yeah.
But I love the moments where not only does she address the problem, but she addresses everybody else's problem.
Yes, yes.
And I thought that was like,
That was interesting.
I mean, even if you take away all the other things of the show, you have this moment where it's like, now
Yeah.
she's playing the guitar, she's out there, she's fighting her own, like instincts to run and hide and to hide
Yeah.
inside of a mango box.
Yes, yes. Especially their first concert.
Yeah, so she's like hiding she's fighting all of these things, but she can also see where her bandmates are kind of not like into it,
Yeah.
and she drags them
Yes.
like sheer force of will. She drags them into it and makes them perform
Yeah.
better.
The bass player, she's kind of like almost like Bocchi, but more like I don't care kind of vibes, similar like Comey's brother. And then the drummer's the complete opposite of them all, the super like friendly, like let's have a good time partner. So, but I'm also bringing up with the aspect of it, like there's gifts, there's like people are ranking it really high, people are relating to it like we are in different variances, but ultimately like that fine line of between treating a social anxiety as a mental problem, it is a problem. And I feel like a lot of people latch onto that, like, oh, I have social anxiety, I'm so quirky, like Bocchi, because she doesn't like talking to people. No, it's the opposite. Quite the opposite.
What do you mean?
Well, sometimes people have that latch man of like, I do have a problem. I have social anxiety. I don't like people. Like, no. You just don't like people. Sometimes they jump through hoops to explain their flaws in a weird way. And this show encompasses that, at least, until you realize there's an outlet towards having anxiety or communication problems. Essentially, you figure out it's quite normal. So
Well, yeah, I think that's. I mean, we all struggle.
yeah.
Nobody's like, only sociopaths have a level of confidence where they're confident in every situation. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
everybody, like walking into any situation, like asking somebody on a first date,
Yeah.
or even just walking up to somebody and saying, "Hey, like let's be friends," or like introducing yourself,
Yeah.
or meeting people for their first time, or
Yeah.
starting a new job. Those are all situations that you're walking into where you don't know what's going to happen. But Bochi does have this social anxiety. And so those situations are more extreme. And they're more extreme because they're played for laughs. Like her hiding in the garbage can or her hiding in a box. They're like, what's wrong with Bochi now?
Yeah.
But I love the fact that it's consistent. The jokes, it's like she's always like, there's times where, like, there's one time where they're going and she's like, what? We're going outside on a trip? What? And she's just like completely, like, essentially body that they're carrying around.
Yeah.
And she's just like drooling and like completely out of it.
It's her frazzled face.
And they're like, you were like that the entire time.
Yep. Yep.
Or I love when like the little ghost comes out and like, oh, her spirit left her body.
Similar Fran, like the reactions are endearing. So
Yeah, not only are they endearing, but they're so over the top, and I love how the show uses different kinds of art forms
that's the
to
one panel
convey
joke.
that.
That's the one panel joke. Yeah.
Well,
Like,
even
they'll
like,
show like a super realistic face, like really ugly. Yeah.
but not even like they'll do like stop motion.
That as well.
They'll do computer generated
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
They'll do like, and Bochi, the things that she imagines are so extreme. I don't know, man. I think that. Yeah, this one is one of the best ones of the year too, I think, because it just.
It's ranked higher than Chainsaw Man for the official list. I mean, that's how good it's been ranked.
Well, I mean, I think this is one of those shows that speaks to everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that you can watch this show. I don't care who you are. I mean, you could say, oh, I'm not going to watch, I don't watch shows about girls and bands or whatever. You can say that.
Yeah.
So you're blue in the face. And then you watch this show and you realize that this is a show about people.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just happen to be in a band.
And sadly, it's probably the best music one I could think of.
The music, it's really well done.
Not only the music, but music genre ones. Even like
who's ever playing that guitar
Yeah.
is like, man, this is, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, Your Lie in April's a music one. I've yet to check that one out. K-on's the famous one, and I'm not crazy about K-on.
I've watched K-on, Angel Beats.
Angel Beats, yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, there was another one.
Technically Vivi, but Vivi does it in its own weird way.
Oh, Vivi's like.
But I'm talking about like the genre itself, being friends with bands, friends within the band. Beck, Mongolian, Chop Squad, that's the boy version. Given is another one like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know you've watched more of these than me, but
it's kind of
the thing is that it doesn't matter
Yeah.
that it's a music show, because it's a music show, it's a comedy show, it's a coming of age
but they
show.
intervene, they intertwine.
Well, at the end of the day, it's hard. It's a comedy.
Yeah.
Bochi's a comedy.
Yes.
It's a comedy, but it has serious moments, and it's also a comedy, but it's a drama too.
Yeah.
But it's also an experimental, like a visually experimental anime.
Oh yeah.
So they've got a lot going on, but they know what they're doing. The creators of the show know what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
They handle this really well. They give you characters that, while they move through the tropes of different animes, it's Bochi's reaction to these things that are often hilarious, always endearing, and leave you liking this character more and more each time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a slice of life highlight for that.
Oh, yeah.
Fall 2022.
Oh, yeah.
It is. It just
yeah.
is. I admit that. Even more so than Zaki. Even more so than Encouragement to Climb. I haven't even seen an episode of that.
Well, this is one of those shows where, like, you can't really even talk about the other shows.
That's what I mean.
It's like, all right, just look, you guys are going to need...
All right, bring up Raven Consort, because that one, you don't know where to place it. Slice of life, I can't help but think of. So
no, I can see it's it's the life of the inner court.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
far removed from Rust.
I mean, is it slice of life in a way, but it's also supernatural. It's also a romance. It's also a drama, and you get court intrigue,
Yeah.
and you get plots
His
and
story.
deceptions and assassinations, and so that one's firing on all cylinders. Bocchi the Rock is firing on all cylinders. It's like these are shows that are worth watching, worth doing episodes about of the podcast, and that people should watch no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is Jack's Slice Life Vending Machine Corner.
Oh
for
no
fall.
no 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 no
Oh.
no 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 Jack. No, 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 Jack.
I was trying to avoid this one.
I watched this one because of you. I watched the entirety of it because of you. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about a married couple, but not
no,
lovers.
I was trying to avoid it.
Sorry.
I watched it too.
No, see, no. We're talking about this one, Jack, because you made me watch it. You made me watch it. And you didn't.
I was trying to get away from.
You did the slice of like vending machine corner without talking about Uzaki-chan.
Uzaki's gonna be
wants to hang out.
That's gonna be my end of the year.
But you're trying to get away without talking about a married couple but not lovers, and I'm not gonna let you do that. Let's go. Let's do this.
All right.
Come on, Jack. Because I watched this show because of you. I watched this show. So
I watched as much as I could, almost all the episodes.
I watched the entire show.
Up to episode 10.
I watched the entire show. So let's talk about it, Jack. The look on your face is priceless.
As you can tell, it's my least favorite of the season.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
I just liked other shows more. I mean,
well,
I'm Taming the Final Villain was
yeah.
not like one of my favorites this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even Uzaki, there were moments where I was like, all right.
Oh, I like
as
Uzaki.
Funny as it was,
like
I was like, I thought the first season was stronger.
I like Uzaki.
Yeah. But so what didn't you like about a married couple but not lovers?
Ultimately, like they could have done more with the premise of the assignment.
I can see that.
At least include the side characters. You have a whole freaking classroom full of these AOK characters. They could have like almost like Friends. They could have like entered in their apartment building, interrupted their scheming and shit like that. It's a show that definitely should have went that route. A show that kind of did that, where I wasn't crazy about as a couple of cuckoos. They actually like tried to get all the characters involved. This one, they forcibly do the main couple and like their crushes and stuff, because they're total opposites living together for assignment. No dice. I don't like that. But why do you like it more than me, Edwin?
You know what? I didn't.
Okay.
And not at the beginning.
All right.
At the beginning, I felt that it was pretty generic.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time to warm up.
Yes.
And they spend way too much time teasing the main character.
Yeah.
I'm like, man. But as the show went along, it was really a show about two young people trying to figure out their lives, trying to figure out not only, trying to figure out what being in a role, like he had feelings for his childhood friend and he saw himself in a certain way, and he saw like he had like going into this, he had some preconceived notions about who he was, who this girl that was living with was. She's this Gairu that's just like, she's just Miss Popular and like this and that.
It's almost like bottom tier.
Well, she's got in a way, because he calls himself,
worthless.
There's the normies, and then there's
the popular ones. Yeah.
Well, there's the neats, and then there's the normies, and so he sees himself as one of like the losers, and like, but there was a lot of growth, surprisingly, for a show that is very simplistic on the surface.
Yeah, that's my main thing.
It's sick. There's times where this show is like sickeningly sweet, but like in a forced way.
Yeah.
But they have moments where you start to see the characters as characters instead of just tropes. And it turns into this show about these characters trying to figure out, what does this mean? What does it mean to be lovers? What does it mean to have your first kiss? And yeah, they spend way too much time on the teasing and the sexuality
You're
and the
getting
the
you're,
innuendo, but it transitions. There's a point in the show where it transitions from being very generic, and I think yeah, they don't use the other characters, I think, to the extent that they should have. And there are moments where it becomes kind of like a situational comedy of errors. But at the same time, I saw enough merit where I watched all of it because I'm like, all right, I've been on a journey with these people and I've seen them grow. And especially the main character, the female lead, she goes through having a crush on this one guy, realizing that that's never going to work out because he's in love with somebody else.
yeah, yeah.
And then, even though she's teasing the main character, she becomes confused. She gets confused as to like, like, all right, what are my feelings for him? And I thought that they played it out like, yeah, this whole thing about living with somebody is this force of like, oh, now we have to live together.
That's what I
Like,
mean. They made
yeah.
it more like a drama where it's just
Well,
a silly concept, guys. Come on.
well, I mean, we've seen this played out. A couple of cuckoos, even
Even my mom's daughter is my ex.
yeah, I mean, we've seen this played out and why they play it out like that. Oh, they're living in the same house. Something's going to happen. And this show does that, but I think there's also a tenderness that I was kind of surprised by. That kind of caught me off guard with this show.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I didn't want it to be a romance. I wanted it to be a comedy. That's my division with it.
You.
That's my.
There were moments where it was funny. Like his friend at first starts out being like this annoying otaku,
Yeah, and
and then he ends up having some of the more funny moments of the show,
exactly.
especially later on. And this is one of those shows where it's like you got to push through to like episode 6,
Yeah,
and then it really starts to get like tender, and you see the characters developing and growing and trying to figure out what it means to kiss my childhood crush, and where is this going to go, and will we end up together, and are all the preconceived notions that I had about being a teen and being in a relationship, are they really real?
yeah,
And how am I discovering this? If anything, I think that they could have done away with the first 6 episodes and moved into something that was way more serious. And as a comedy, I think it would have failed, dude.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, they could have. I don't think that they committed enough to the premise to make it a comedy, but I think that there was enough there where like, did I hate this show? No. Do I say, hey, you have to run out and watch it? No. But like, if you do decide to watch it, or if this is the kind of show that you like, I don't think you'll be entirely
It,
disappointed.
early on, it kind of had like a following. Like I can't remember the other show that it reminded me of, but it had like the same like wave. Like people were checking it out.
Well, it kind of reminded me a little bit of My Dress Up Darling, but that
Ooh,
one that one was way stronger.
yeah,
My Dress Up Darling knew its audience, and it was doing its thing from episode 1. This show, it took up to episode 6 to get into the territory of like it took too long to get started.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
like I
and then by
said,
the time you get to the end, because you have that same vibe. Now, in My Dress Up Darling, there's the teasing, but some of it isn't intentional. Like that scene in the hotel, I don't think they intended to get to the point where she's on top of them, and nature kind of like says,
oh,
oh. Yeah,
awakening.
in this
Hey,
show, they do a lot more. There's a lot more teasing that I think was unnecessary. Yeah,
you're ringing the bells for Jack.
yeah. So I think that was, but I get it. I get it. I'm like, you're gonna being kind of a jerk.
Yeah,
She was being kind of a jerk, and I got that.
she was okay for me at least.
Yeah. Well, he was like, I thought that he was very nondescript. Like, and I agreed with and the weird thing is I agreed with like, there's the lesbian friend
Oh yeah,
of the
yeah,
childhood.
yes,
Yeah, like his childhood's
yes.
best friend has a lesbian friend,
Yeah,
and she said, "How are you in love with such a coward?"
yeah,
And he, at a certain point, he realizes like, yeah, I'm not. being genuine with these people
Yeah.
about how I feel and what I want, because I'm so scared to express any of this, that he was so scared to express any of this, that he was going to lose out. And it's like, and it's all about, it's like, all right, so what are my feelings? What are my emotions? And what am I prepared to do about them? So what does this mean? So I had to be, by the end of the day, like the show had won me over, because at first I was like, oh, Jack,
Yeah.
what did you get me into? And then by the end of it, I think I ended up liking it more than you
Well,
did.
for disclosure, it was like one of those things like, do I really have to review the show? Because I did not like the first episode. I did not like it. And Edwin's like, well, I saw a couple. I'm like,
I watched it because of you, Jack.
And it shows
like,
that
I was not like, this reminded me of Girlfriend.
There you go. That's the one I was thinking of.
And
that's the one I was thinking of where it just had a wave and people actually like it and it's reviewed A-okay.
Well, that show was just annoying.
Yeah, and that's the same vibe. My God.
No, well, this wasn't this show. No, there's nobody more annoying than that character in Girlfriend.
Fair,
I can't remember what.
Fair.
And
but
he's so annoying.
Yeah.
He's so annoying. Oh my God.
Even a couple cuckoos was like, man, that's annoying.
Well, the thing that really killed me was that in the manga he wasn't.
Okay.
He didn't come across.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that.
Yeah, he didn't come across as annoying in the manga. And so in the anime, they really laid into that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really pissed me off about that show.
Yeah.
I don't know that I finished watching.
It was one done. Yeah. Yeah. I even done this show more than that one. So I'm like, yeah.
No, this show was, I think that this show is definitely, it's worth watching.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, they saved themselves. They ended up being better than a lot of the other options out there.
Yeah.
That it lost its audience, I can kind of understand why, but it's kind of sad too.
And with that, we're trucking along. And I did not mention a few other shows that were in Slice of Life, like Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out, because I was a genuine surprise for that one. So, and I was shaking his head.
So, you're gonna rank, so let's just talk about what your favorite shows were for the fall season of 2022.
Oh no, we'll say that for the end of the year.
So you want to just throw everything into your end of your year?
Yeah.
Okay, because I want to talk about Chainsaw Man.
Thank you for tuning in to another great 950 Club session. Tune in next time as we're going to have our best of 2022. Yes, our most anticipated episode since last year. Nonetheless, it's going to be a good old time. A little bit more chill than last year, not going to lie, but it's also one of those things where we just couldn't contain ourselves. We were really eager to talk about our top favorites, and we're a little bit all over the board. Overall, it's a good time just listening in, and it's perfect just before the Crunchyroll Anime Awards. So tune in, and once again, we'd like to remind you, please like, subscribe, download, and share wherever we put our show on, from YouTube, Spotify, Podbean, and iHeartRadio. Thank you for listening in, and goodbye for now.